Hello and welcome to the LinkExpert for PCI Express. I'm John Wiedemeyer. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Teledyne LeCroy. And I would like to talk about the agenda for just a second here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Teledyne LeCroy, what we do, and what protocol analysis is like in terms of how it's being done today. And then I want to talk about something very exciting, a new product that we've introduced here a couple of months ago called LinkExpert. Teledyne LeCroy has been around for many years and focused on a variety of test equipment, including oscilloscopes and protocol analyzers. Protocol analyzers started over a decade ago with the advent of CAT-C being acquired, and CAT-C had many protocols and has continued to grow the types of protocols being supported. PCI Express is one of the main protocols that are supported today, and has been supported since the first generation, and then more recently supported with NVMe. The protocol analysis and test product line covers a variety of analyzers, from the low-end Summit T24 to the new Summit T416. It's a Gen 4x16 analyzer. Protocol analyzers are used as a monitoring tool between a host and device. The other kind of tools that we have for protocol is an exerciser. Exercisers are how we test. So basically an exerciser can create traffic on a protocol bus, and we can see exactly using the analyzer what's happening on the bus as we stimulate the bus. Protocol analysis today basically has evolved into a very, very in-depth, very deep, complicated specifications, and a lot of different handshaking type of knowledge is required to understand what's going on the bus. There's a lot of timing analysis that's required to understand. All this is shown in either a spreadsheet view or the CAT-C high-speed serial view. There's also lots of different types of techniques that have been developed over the years, a lot of them coming from the logic analyzer, using complex triggers and filtering of log packet sequences. Analyzers can also be used to monitor the registers and memory, and like I said, using triggering and other types of tools, you can basically understand exactly what's happening at any time on the bus. Statistical reporting is also used to identify anomalies or try to find hard, very rare instances where types of protocol elements are being used. And bar charts are also available. So there's all kinds of rich displays that are available for protocol analysis today, but it requires some effort to understand what's going on and understand the specification. The LinkExpert is a new tool, and the concept behind this is that it manages the protocol analyzer and exerciser. But what it does differently is that it displays a high-level diagnostic information between the root complex and endpoint. So LinkExpert can help us resolve connectivity issues, try to understand why the host and device don't connect together. Interoperability, understanding why maybe some things are linking up and dropping. Other issues might involve performance. Many times we see applications where things seem to work, but at a very degraded performance level. And a lot of times we see applications go out into the field, and even though engineers believe that it's working, they're not getting the performance that the specification has told them that they should get. So LinkExpert is basically a new interface that takes a smart approach to testing PCI Express links. So it can display the results very clearly so you understand what's going on. It identifies errors, lists them carefully. It brings up any connectivity issues that are available or being shown on the bus. And it indicates overall performance metrics, so you can see how well a design has been implemented. One of the great things about LinkExpert that people are really excited about is that it eliminates the need for a real in-depth technical knowledge of the specification. Specification might require several hundred pages of reading and understanding. So having a tool like this makes protocol analysis simple and straightforward. LinkExpert, we believe, is a great tool for design and validation engineers, people who have in-depth knowledge and perhaps want to understand from another viewpoint what's happening on the bus. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't require extensive PCI Express training, so it can also be used for the new college hire or a new person who's joined a team and needs to come up to speed and begin doing testing. It doesn't have the luxury of having weeks in advance to study the PCI Express specification. And anybody who gets thrown into a project and needs to get PCI Express up and running because the following week they have to get something shipped out the door and they need to get a problem solved. And this is what's great about LinkExpert, is that it can do all those things. Now, having said this, I want to make sure it's very clear. The PCIe protocol suite that we've been shipping with our products for the many years is very much in the forefront of what we're going to be doing moving forward. There's still many features and enhancements that are planned, and we're moving forward with this product. And once again, a big core of our development is on this new software, this PCIe protocol suite. So I want to make sure it's understood that in no way PCIe protocol suite is changing our focus at all. In fact, I want to point out that LinkExpert and PCIe protocol suite can be licensed for the same protocol analyzer. So once again, two different interfaces that are available for users to use. And so if you want to use basically a high-end, very detailed, lots of features, lots of depth to do debugging, or the LinkExpert, which is more of an intuitive tool for those who may not be doing the deep dive, but certainly want to get answers quickly on what's happening on the bus. So what can LinkExpert do? So let's just take a look at one of the screens here. You can see here basically it gives you a list of tests. And each of these tests can be run at the normal PCI Express speeds, the 2.5, 5, 8, and 16 gigatransfers per second, and can run on any of the by 1, by 2, by 8, by 4 link widths. Like I said, there's a variety of ways we can test the bus, and you can choose which test that you want. So each of these tests, when selected, will give you the information that you need in a very high-level view that will help you understand. You'll be able to discover issues. You'll find the root cause. And the LinkExpert will suggest potential solutions to issues that are identified. One of the great things LinkExpert can do is that it can provide a full detailed report. Now, it's important that when we do any testing that we're able to characterize and document as we go along, because as we make changes to the equipment as we're testing, we want to have a record of that moving forward so we can see our advances and our pitfalls. So LinkExpert is very capable of providing some really good reports that you can save away. So LinkExpert can be used independently from the PCIe protocol suite we talked about, or it can be used with it. For those who love the PCIe protocol suite, want to continue to use it, think of LinkExpert as a second opinion of what's happening on the bus. So you might know what's going on, but wouldn't it be interesting to see what another tool is saying? So this is why I think LinkExpert is valuable. But once again, if you don't want to use the PCIe protocol suite, LinkExpert is a great way to begin your troubleshooting. So how does LinkExpert perform a test? So let's break this down a little bit. So once again, we need a protocol analyzer. We need an interposer. An interposer is basically a tapping board. There's many different kinds of interposers, each with different kinds of connectors. Some are link width dependent. Some have a special connector. Depending on your application, whether you be military, industrial, or straight computing, you may use the CHEM form factor or the XMC or VPX or multi-lead or some other type of connector. But all of these are ways to get information into the protocol analyzer. And of course, your adding card or the DUT is basically put between the interposer is put between the adding card and the system board. And that's how we take a measurement. Now, when we take a recording, we call it a protocol scan. And multiple protocol scans may be required to do the test. And you're in control of that. You can basically decide how many tests you want to do. Here's a picture here showing exactly this setup. You can see the interposer is plugged into a chassis, onto a system board, and there's a DUT that's on top of the interposer. And I show here a Summit T24 analyzer, and of course the software is being run on a PC. So a very, very simple setup. And once again, once you connect everything together, the software itself actually does all the work. The LinkExpert can run on all of the products from the T24 to the Summit T416. So we have quite a few to choose from, depending on your price point. And a lot of these analyzers can be upgraded, either with speed or lane width. It's compatible, LinkExpert is compatible with Windows 7, 8, or Windows 10. You can run on a laptop or desktop. So LinkExpert, if you look at it, if you look off to the right here, you can see a picture showing what it looks like. You can see it's very different than PCIe protocol suite with all of its, its various hierarchy displays or spreadsheets. And what it's trying to do is give you high-level information that you can make your determination of what's happening on the bus. And so once again, it supports all of the different protocols. It displays our traffic status, and also I'll talk later on about it provides a testing framework for additional tests. So here's the basically the interface. I want to point out that on the left bar there, you can see the tests that we've talked about before. Right below it is basically it talks about our analyzer and what it's seeing in terms of the device. And then at the very top bar, you can see the analysis results. And we'll talk more about this in detail as we move forward. So here we see the detail how the link establishment test can be broken down into several tests. Each of these help us to make a determination about what's happening on that bus. And you can go through each of these or pick one of them. Anyway, this is how you can learn more about what's going on. The analyzer device, you can see here as we have, in this particular case, we see that the device under test is, you can see the green circles indicating that this is how many lanes are there. And you also have basically a, up in the box here, it tells you the speed and once again the lane width again. So it gives you kind of a nice synopsis of what's happening from a physical standpoint. Over on the top here, the analysis results, we can see the progress of the test. So if you had multiple tests chosen, you'll see that circle will advance around and tell you how many tests are passed. In this particular case here, we can see that 2 of the 5 tests had passed. We're at 67%. 2 warnings were issued, 1 error during test. So it kind of gives you, an update of what's happening with the test, so you know that something's happening on in your test setup. Now, LinkExpert does make use of graphs, but we try to simplify things to make it easy to understand. The way we've done that is we've done a lot of color coding. we use some of the obvious things that the industry has taught us. One of the things people like to know is if it's green, it means good. If it's red, it's bad. Something like that. And we also try and use a variety of not only graphics, but also spelling it out in with words and sentences describing what's happening. So in this particular case here, we see a throughput. And I just want to point out that I show here in the red circle here that we're seeing a max. The green is the downstream, so the downstream 536 megabytes right there. We see all that the upstream is 301 megabytes. And so once again, this kind of happened momentarily. We didn't really see a sustained throughput. This might alert us to some other issues, or this might be exactly the behavior we're looking for. But once again, this kind of helps us to understand what's happening on the bus, that something is happening and there's a varied throughput through the operation of your device. ACKs and NACs are certainly part of the PCI Express spec, and we don't expect you to understand everything about that, but I want to point out that the tool itself tells you that there were no NAC DLPs found in the traffic. And then we have a little explanation of what in the world a NAC DLP is. And once again, you can look at this here. It says here, are used to initiate a data link layer retry in case if the receiver detects a TLP error. So now we kind of give you a few details to help you understand, kind of hold your hand as we're going through to explain what this means. Once again, at the end, we summarize what the next step would be. Here's the case for the ACK-NAC occurrence. There's a min, average, and max displayed in this graph. And you can see what's happening here and see if this is exactly what you'd expect. Did your specification for your product actually say this would be the case? And we use, like I say, color coding. Green is good. If there's any red, there'll be issues. So here we have a skip timing spec violation. Now, of course, you probably see the red already in the upstream. And we see that the minimum, we've broken the specification here, and there's a problem there. We see on the downstream, though, that the min and average and max were within the realm of what it was supposed to be running at. But once again, we see some issues here. Now, this product probably would work to some degree, but there might be issues and might cause some performance issues later on. So once again, it's nice to know this, and maybe this can be fixed ahead of time so that it doesn't get released as a product like this. Flow control spec violation. Once again, we're making use of graphs. And once again, you see the red right away over there on the downstream. This is the update flow control posted DLLPs. And we have the non-posted. And each of these are indicating that we're out of spec. And someone needs to look at this and try and fix this if possible, because this will cause issues later on. So one of the diagrams that's highly used with PCI Express debugging is the LTSSM state machine. Now, in our LinkExpert tool here, we're showing basically this diagram, but we have a little message here we can see at the very top. There's a warning. It says a link went into normal operational state through several invalid transitions. So it's already flagging a problem. And then we have a helpful piece of information here. And it says here both upstream and downstream sides successfully reached L0 state of the LTSSM. L0 is the normal operational state of link. So we see here that what's supposed to happen, of course, is it's supposed to go from this detect and polling stage up to the L0. But in this case here, it did something else. And although this might have worked, it's going to cause some issues in performance possibly, or just a degraded performance. And so once again, it quickly shows us what's happening on the bus in a very visual way. Sometimes boot issues can occur. Once again, here we see a warning that comes up during the LinkExpert test. It says boot sequence recorded, but issues are detected in the traffic. And we see here upstream and downstream. We see very little activity in upstream and a lot of activity in downstream. This may be an issue. Needs to be looked at. We can see there's some issues that are happening here. But once again, I want to point out that we warned you what's going on, and we've given you some details, and then the next step is to understand what we need to do. One of the important things about understanding the capabilities of your device is reading that configuration space. So LinkExpert will do that. It will determine the maximum speed of the device, the maximum speed of the host, the link width, polarity, all those issues, and report that to you. So it'll do that test, and I want to point out in this particular view here, we see that the device is working at 8 gigatransfers per second, but the host is only working at 2.5, and that the link width is by 4. But it says very clearly that the link was established at 2.5 because that is, of course, the maximum speed the host can do, even though the device could do higher. So it tells you what's going on, but it tells you what you could have had if all devices were able to use their max capabilities. We also display the polarities of what's going on the bus as well. So once again, it gives you a nice snapshot. You didn't have to look at a trace. You didn't have to look at any details. Just kind of reported it right what was happening. We also show the configuration space, so if you want to take that extra step and dig into some registers, you can see what's going on. We'll decode a lot of that for you. So let's take a quick debug example here. So once again, we're familiar with the screen now, this LinkExpert screen. And let's just take a look and see what's happening here. So the first thing happens is the LinkExpert is expanded. We see some warnings coming up here. We notice at the very bottom here that there's only one lane that seems to be operational. And we're getting all these warnings. Of course, we were able to do configuration space and a few things. So we know that we were able to get some information from the device. We ran through several tests, like I showed before here. You know, we went kind of circled around here as we're running these tests, and we're learning more things. But at the end here, we start to kind of put together a few things here. So we saw there were a description of errors, once again, and we see as we move around, we see some information here. We look at the configuration space. We see that the device and host were both at 8 gigatransfers per second, and we see that the max link width was by 4. Even though we see over here that by 1 seems to be the only thing connected, and we even restates it here that the analyzer, our Summit T34, is reporting that it's working at 8 gigatransfers per second and by 1. So what happened to the other lanes? So we see here that there's been some issues. So once again, if you can see that in the small type here, you can see that once again, some of the lanes were missing. Now, we've just gone through the LinkExpert as a test, basically as analysis software. Now I want to talk about its capability to work with the Summit Z316 exerciser and other exercisers running tests. And so you need an analyzer, you need an exerciser, and our test platform, and of course the LinkExpert to do that. Now, some of you may remember that we have another product called ATS, which also runs compliance tests and other tests that we have that was part of the PCIe protocol suite. What we've done is we've gone ahead and we've basically enhanced that and made that part of LinkExpert. Now I want to show you that we have the same library that ATS had, and I'm pointing that red box there. So we have all the nice packages that you've grown to love and use over the many years. But it's all there in the LinkExpert menu. You would select one of those, and basically you would get, for example, we're selecting the NVMe, MI, MCTP, SM bus tests. We can go into those tests and we can click on which ones we want to run. We want to run all of them or just maybe 1 or 2 of them. We can. We have that flexibility. Once we do that, it incorporates those into a little side panel so we can begin to run those tests and get some status. So I have a button at the top, run all the ones that are selected, and it will run those, similar to what we did in ATS. You can see at the bottom here the analyzer exerciser devices that are enabled, And anyway, it'll run those tests and give you the pass-fail that you need to complete your testing. In addition, all the log files, so log files being all of the information about how the test was conducted and how it proceeded through each test, and then of course if it was pass or fail, all that information is incorporated. And of course, with the analyzer's help, traces can be taken. And so if any issues you had with your compliance or your other tests, we can give you not only a log file but a trace as well of the offending trace. So anyway, you can see that it's quite powerful, a lot of capability, a lot of different ways to look at data and control it. So in conclusion, the new LinkExpert makes it easy for add-on board and system developers to quickly understand the connectivity status of their equipment and clarify whether the host or device is causing the problem. The new LinkExpert will benefit engineers who don't have the time to read protocol specifications and need quick answers to getting a system put together and working correctly. So I hope this has been beneficial to everyone. At this point here, I would like to open this up for some questions, and I'd like to answer those if I can here. I'm looking here and seeing who's coming in. I have a question coming in here. It says here, can I use LinkExpert with my existing analyzer? And the answer is yes. If you purchase a Teledyne LeCroy Summit analyzer, you should be able to talk to your sales guy and get upgraded with the new LinkExpert software. Let's see, next question is, how much does LinkExpert cost? So LinkExpert is specific to the protocol analyzer that you're going to use. So, I would suggest that you once again talk to your sales person in your locality and get the upgrade. There isn't one particular cost for it. It's specific to each type of analyzer out there. Next question, does LinkExpert work for compliance testing? So yes, it does. LinkExpert, as we said before, was used recently at the UNH ILS Plugfest and ran the NVMe and my tests. Where can I download the LinkExpert software? So LinkExpert software is part of the downloads at our normal download location on the Teledyne LeCroy website. So you can get that. It's also part of the CD release if you got that with your analyzer. So anyway, so yeah, that's all. It's all available there up on the web. So do we have any other questions here? All right. Well, I think that concludes my broadcast for today. Thanks for your participation. And once again, if you have any questions, never hesitate to call us and contact us at our website or our support organizations or sales guys. Anyway, we'll talk to you later.